IOP, I chose to examine the relationships in the Odyssey. So when you're looking at relationships in the context of this epic, it breaks down into relationships between two humans and then a relationship between a human and a god or goddess. So I'm going to explore some of the main relationships in Odysseus's journey. And Homer has illustrated many relationships in our protagonist's story. I'll be examining the Odysseus relationships between him and Laertes, Odysseus and Telemachus, Odysseus and Calypso, Odysseus and Penelope, and Odysseus and Athena. I chose to represent these relationships through art, and I'm using a shoe as my canvas because I'm passionate about art, and I'm also a big fan of shoes. So the first relationship is Odysseus and Calypso, and Calypso is represented through her aisle right here on the toe. Odysseus and Calypso is a unique relationship because Homer does not spend a great deal of time on their connection. However, from reading the epic, we know that he's just spent a great deal of time with her, so which is depicted here on the aisle. And I chose to show Odysseus' relationship with Calypso on the toe because oftentimes the toe gets scuffed up or sort of like mistreated, if you will. And this, in the same way, this represents Odysseus and Calypso's relationship in that he spends all this time with her and then he expresses that he never really desired to be with her. And he says, "The sweet lifetime was draining out of him as he wept for her way home, since the nymph was no longer pleasing him. By nights he would lie beside her, of necessity, in the hollow caverns, against his will, by no one was willing, but all the days he would sit up upon the rocks at the seaside, breaking his heart in tears and lamentation and sorrow, as weeping tears he looked out over the barren water." So Odysseus is really expressing how his physical desire for Calypso has been overcome by his loyalty and desire to be true to Penelope. So this desire for him to be true to Penelope leads into the next relationship, which is between Odysseus and Penelope. So I represented Odysseus and Penelope's relationship through an imitation of Penelope's weave on the laces. And this weave is symbolic of Penelope's loyalty and fidelity towards her husband, and Homer expresses Penelope's thought process in making the weave when he says that, "So every day she wove the great loom, but every night by torchlight she unwove it. So for 3 years she deceived the Achaeans. But when the seasons brought the fourth around, one of the maids who knew the secret told us. Then we found her unraveling the splendid shroud. She had to finish it then, although she hated it." So when Homer says, although she hated it, he is really stressing how she's so reluctant to finish this weave and that she wishes she could just buy herself some more time to remain loyal and true to her husband that she loves so much. And because the weave is so important because it shows how Penelope is fighting in every way that she knows that she can in order to hold on to what she has with Odysseus, waiting for him to come home. So the next relationship of Odysseus's is between Odysseus and Laertes, and this is Laertes. This relationship between Odysseus and Laertes is one that embodies mutual respect and mutual love for each other. Laertes is so devastated about Odysseus's magnificently delayed nosta, which is the Greek word for homecoming. And Laertes is depicted in a sepia tone to show Laertes' premature aging over his grief of his son and his wife that has just passed away. So I painted Laertes next to a tree in his garden that Odysseus finds him at, and Odysseus knows he has a lot of fond childhood memories about. Laertes is in such despair when he sees Odysseus, who is tricking Laertes and isn't dressed up like himself, when he decides to be cunning and doesn't reveal himself. And this throws Laertes into a bittersweet state of shock because he's so excited that his son is home, but so confused in why his son would do this to him. And Homer delineates this reunion as he writes, "He spoke, and the black cloud of sorrow closed on Laertes. In both hands he caught up in the grimy dust and poured it over his face and grizzled head, groaning incessantly. The spirit rose up in Odysseus, and now his nostrils there was a shock of bitter force as he looked into his father. He sprang up to him and embraced him and kissed him." So Homer is showing us how torn apart Laertes is and how upset he is about this loss. And he obviously, about his son, that he obviously holds close to his heart. And this relationship stresses a really passionate and fierce relationship between the father and the son. And this kind of segues into the next relationship, which is between Odysseus and Telemachus, which is another father-son relationship. So the relationship between Odysseus and Telemachus is a foil for the relationship between Odysseus and Laertes, because the relationship that Odysseus has with Laertes is one that has stood the test of time, because Laertes has raised Odysseus and knows him well and has come to love him so much because he spent so much time with him and has watched him go from being a baby to being this great warrior that everyone admires. So, and contrastly with that, Odysseus and Telemachus' relationship hardly know each other. And because of Odysseus' absence with the war and then with Calypso, the drive behind both of their journeys, the entire epic, is to connect with one another, and for Odysseus to get back home and for Telemachus to figure out who his dad really is. And Telemachus is depicted through a string of hearts that are increasing in size. And this is really a symbol of how the Odyssey is a bildungsroman for Odysseus. Not only that he's 19 and he actually is becoming a man and is needing to step up and be the head of the household, but that his courage and his character are really maturing and growing up throughout this poem. And written on the side of the shoe is the Greek word for adventure, and this really sums up Odysseus and Telemachus' relationship in relationship to the Odyssey, and how it's an adventure, and through the course of the epic, they're both going through all these trials and tribulations to get to know each other. And Telemachus expresses his burning desire to have news of his father when he says to Nestor on his visit, he says, "I want news of my father, Odysseus, and I will comb the wide world for it." And this quote explicitly helps the readers understand that Telemachus truly does want to know Odysseus and want to know what his dad's all about. And a relationship of Odysseus that sort of ties all of these relationships together is Odysseus' relationship with Athena. And from the beginning, Athena has been a moral benefactor for Odysseus and his family, and Athena is doing everything that she can in order to bring this family back together. Athena grants Telemachus a clear head and aids him in journeying on news to find his father. And Athena gives weepy and depressed Penelope, she gives her a night of sleep in order to regain her strength and just get her mind off of missing her husband so much. Athena grants her that night of sleep, and she protects Odysseus in any way that she can through his trials and tribulations on the way home, and she is so evidently advocating for this family in any way that she can. And Nestor tells Telemachus on his visit, he says, "Never have I seen the gods help any man as openly as Athena did your father," showing that not only did she help him on the way home, that she was also helping Odysseus from in the Trojan War. So straight from the get-go, Athena has been trying to help this family, and she is depicted as her symbol of an owl with an olive branch, which is the sign of the peace that she brings. And also Athena's relationship with Odysseus that connects with Calypso is that Athena is the one that is trying to get Odysseus home from this isle, and she's saying he really needs to get home and get to his family. So through this we can see she's still trying to bring this family back together. And lastly, we have Odysseus, who is depicted on here in traditional warrior, Greek warrior armor, and he has the laurel wreath of olive branches around him to show his royalty. And Odysseus is on the tongue because he's in the middle and he's the center, and he's looked as the perfect Greek man. And that's why he's in the traditional warrior outfit, because he's such a great warrior and such a great fighter. And he has this symbol of honor around him to show how much respect that all of the Greeks have for him. All of Odysseus' relationships are unique and important in different aspects of this text, but the subtext in which the value of these relationships are found grants a better understanding and the significance of these relationships. That's all.